fascinating story that I saw in the weekend papers of how Lesle Jansen is a mother here in Cape Town. She has internalized and decided to celebrate her indigenous queer identity by naming her son in the spirit of her culture, tradition, and that identity. Khūboab is her son. He's 18 years old, and he's been unable to get an ID for nearly a year. The issue is that Home Affairs is citing technical limitations in processing names with special characters. Khūboab has a exclamation point at the beginning of his name, but it's not just the exclamation point in Khūboab, it's also other what are known as diacritic characters. It is, for example, a or a U or a E with a little point above that. But as a result of Khūboab and the technical limitations of Home Affairs, he's had to rely on his passport for school registrations and official processes. What Home Affairs then did, they've anglicized his name. But this then loses its meaning. Lesle Jansen joins me now on the line. Good morning, Lesle. Really appreciate your time. What significance, let's start here, what significance does the exclamation point have in the significance of the cultural identity of the name Khūboab?
Yes, good morning, Lester. Thank you for this opportunity and for highlighting this important issue. Yes, the exclamation mark symbolizes a click. And there's actually two clicks in his name. Also on the U, there's another special character which symbolizes a second click. The clicks, the meaning thereof, the meaning of his name, firstly, it means man of God, which is an important message, part of the important message that we also want to relay. And it is the official language of the Nama people, the Nama indigenous people, which is also part of the broader Khoisan community, indigenous language called Khūboab. And within that language, it embeds several clicks. And so Khūboab's name encapsulates two of those clicks. Yeah.
Lesle, just for my clarity, how do you pronounce? How does your son pronounce and wants his name to be pronounced?
Yes. So his official name, he worked with a Nama teacher called Pedro Dausep, and he did a lot of work for the South African government and Pansab around the protection and documentation of the Nama language or Khūboab. And so we've worked with him to, at the time of Khūboab's birth, to put his name together. And he's been sort of teaching us on the proper pronunciation. And it's generally Khūboab, but I say Khūboab, and most people call him Khūboab because people struggle with the clicks itself. But Khūboab wants to be called by his indigenous name, and we understand if it's not, people aren't able to always say it, but in his official documentation, we want it documented as we as a family has given his at his birth his name. Yeah.
So Home Affairs says we don't have the technical ability to add exclamation points or what are known as diacritics. It's letters with special letters with either what we would usually call umlauts or points above them. We're talking about A's, U's, E's. Surely in 2026 we have the dictological ability to add characters that aren't necessary in the 24-letter English language.
Yeah. No, Lester, this for me is, I think South Africa should feel ashamed that we're not, this goes to the fact that we have not recognized the Khoi and San people as a fellow cultural, as indigenous people in South Africa. We all know that there is this big issue, and Khūboab's name has now also been, almost would say, a victim of this struggle that we are in for us, our culture, our languages as the Khoikhoi and San people to also be recognized on par with others. We're not asking for anything else beyond what any other culture is getting. We are asking for our recognition. And the language is not an official language in South Africa. 30 years in, rightly as you said, in 2026, there can be no excuse, no valid excuse, no justifiable reason for not being able to give my son his identity document in his cultural name that his family gave him. There can be no justification for that at all. We've got it in the coat of arms. We've got the special character reflected everywhere. What is different now? And so it reminds us or makes us think, could this be an issue related to our broader struggle that we're in? Yeah.
There's the irony. We have in our coat of arms it's from the Kam people. Unity and diversity, diverse people unite. So it's in our coat of arms, but it's not at our government departments to put it on the smart card ID.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Oh, so where is your son now in the important things in life, the administration of life and the state, where you need an official document to register for a program, to register at school, to travel overseas?
Well, we're basically now at the fact that luckily he had a passport, but the passport expires next year. Between that and getting an affidavit that we attach to the birth certificate, we've been somehow, by some miracle, been able to manage him to write his exam, matric exam last year and the NBT exam. Between those two documents, we were able to, and also with the support of his school, we were able to get him to write his exam and the processes that goes with it. I mean, even recently when he tried to also arrange things with his banking account, they also asked about his identity documents, and we had to give an explanation and prove that he did apply for his ID. So it just has all these ramifications that we just discovering as he's trying to realize as a young adult.
Lesle, really appreciate you getting in touch with us. Lesle Jansen. If your child, reflecting their culture and identity, was essentially rejected by the state because of special characters, how would you feel? And what would you do to fight for them? Lesle is taking this to the top, says wants the Department of Home Affairs to address special characters in what appears in many Khoi languages. It's reflected on our coat of arms. Why not in our bureaucracy?